Hey, Paul, what's going on? Good morning. We're just, let's see if anybody's around this morning. Oh, early start to the day. Hey, Lofty, what's happening, dude? Um, no, Paul, well, this is the Anon. I'm on the Anon this morning, the 200D. So, ay caramba. Oh, man, I am still sleepy. Let's do, you got to start the day right. So we might as well get it out of the way. Happy 4th of July, wherever you guys are at. I know, Lofty, you're on the other side of the mud puddle, so irrelevant for you. But this is Independence Day weekend, July 4th, on a Saturday, which is nice. A lot of partying gonna happen, not with me, but this is pretty funny. I just did this. Yawning actually cools down your brain, which helps get rid of stress. Can't yawn? Think of the word yawn or watch a video of someone yawning. Chances are just reading the word yawn several times in this sentence actually made you yawn. I already yawned. Tim, that's funny right there. I, you know, we forget that, don't we? Pun of the week. His wife decided to become a whiskey maker, and he loved her still. I like that. Uh, I like my I like my scotch, and I had a friend of mine say to me a while back. He says, well, I'm kind of a bourbon. Hey, I made it again. I'm a bourbon. I'm a bourbon man. So I said, well, real men drink whiskey, and yeah, that didn't, or scotch. Real men drink scotch, and that didn't end well. He was a competitive soul. Anyways, let me throw out. Guess what I did yesterday? This is pretty funny. Um, I put a reflector under the cloud burner. It's about 40 feet underneath it, about 5, 6, 7% longer, somewhere in there. Up, 0.5. No, yeah, 5%. Roughly 5 to 7% longer. And the queue went up. I was listening to a station in North Carolina, which is a little bit of a stretch for a cloud burner. He's on the Tennessee border. I was listening to him on 3906 this morning. And he was 30 over. So that's 1,000 miles from here. So really the kill box for this antenna is like 1 to 300 miles, 1 to 500 miles at the most, but I didn't try to contact him. I should have. Excuse me, but I was too sleepy at the time, and I didn't have everything going, so I was just listening. So what do you guys got planned for today? You can go ahead and chime into the chat. See if Jerry or Frankie or Angelo or Vito is around, or whoever, Dave, Carl, the crew. I lost my foot pedal. You know what I got to do? I got to stick some Velcro, glue some Velcro on the bottom of that pedal so it doesn't scoot on the floor. tell you, man, that thing is always scooting around. Now watch, I'll hit the key and all hell will break loose. I haven't transmitted on it yet. And I've got the pedal plugged into the wrong radio. Had another weird, I'm trying to figure it out because it's wired correctly. I know it is. I made up a splitter between the two radios to feed one foot pedal for PTT. And with the Anon plugged in, now the Anon comes out of a 1/8 TRS out of the front, and the ring and sleeve are PTT. Connect those and it goes to ground on transmit, right? Kicks in the TX. Now, the 7300 is a Heil cable, which plugs into the front of the radio. They both work the same, but I cannot have the Anon plugged in to the jumper with the 7300 plugged in at the same time. It puts the 7300 in a transmit, and it just stays in transmit. So, yeah, that was a bust. I'm not sure why that's happening. I can't quite figure that out because they're both grounded transmit. I did switch the polarity on the Anon on the connector. The female quarter inch tip sleeve connector, TS connector. Didn't make a darn bit of difference. Still something like I can't figure it out. It's very straightforward, very simple, but I just can't get it to work. Anyways. Anybody about this morning, K1GMM? Happy 4th of July weekend. Paging all goons on 615, K1GMM, Kilo 1 Golf, Mike listening. Up. Somebody's tuning up.
Good morning, Steve. Let me hold off just a bit. I think Jerry's tuning up here. Let me stand by a minute.
Yeah, I saw a carrier pop up, so, yep, I'm here. Good morning.
Okay, well, WT1B, I guess he's good to go. I haven't heard him yet. I got up at, around 5 o'clock. I couldn't sleep good last night. Maybe I'll take a nap today. Anyway, how'd you get a lot of fireworks keeping you up all night, or what's the story up there?
Oh, gosh, no. Quiet, which is weird because the idiot across the street, he's usually... he'll be making racket tonight. We actually, this guy spends, I don't know how much money on fireworks, dude, but a lot of money. And he puts on a good show. He's across the river from me. And we usually sit on the front porch and we'll just watch him. We don't even have to go anywhere. It's big stuff, too, for consumer grade, consumer level fireworks. So, yeah. As much torment, I know the guy generates a horrific amount of noise on HF. He's got something, I don't know if he's a pothead or what's going on. Grow lights, you name it. But, yeah. No, you didn't sleep good, huh? No, I slept pretty good the past 2 nights. I've had to get to bed early because I'm awake. I was awake at, oh gosh, dude, 4:30 this morning. And I've just been knocking around for the past, I don't know, whatever, hour and a half or so. Oh, excuse me. I am so tired. I shouldn't be tired because I slept like 9 hours. So what do you got planned for the weekend? You gonna hunker? And how you feeling, by the way? Go ahead.
WT1B returning. Actually, I feel
You too,
a
Billy.
bit
Happy
better.
4th.
I haven't got the deep pain in the last couple of days that I've had for the last 2 months. So maybe there's hope. I can't. I don't do anything strenuous, which is really bugging me because I got a lot to do. I've got some bushes to trim. I got like 100 foot of hedges that need to be trimmed. We did it. Actually, that's what probably did me in, because the last time we did it was when Paul was down here. He helped me, and right after that, I started getting this sciatic problem. So it seems like it's healing up. There was no. I only had 2 days of therapy this week, and so I'll start Monday. I'm going to go again Monday and Wednesday, and then the following week, and then I get that shot. So my wife has been pretty bad. She's been laid up with the same issue. She's got 4 blown discs in her back,
Oh, my
and
God.
sometimes they really start acting up, and they were doing pretty bad yesterday. So not much planned. We're just gonna hang out. Get the barbecue going for today, and just the two of us. There's nobody really down here. We got a neighbor next door, but we don't pay too much attention. We get once, maybe get together once in a great while, but they get different thoughts than we do. They're from Illinois. They're nice folks, but I don't know. Yeah, they're not that liberal either. That's unusual from Illinois. But yeah, we kind of just stay to ourselves. So anyway, you sounded really good.
I got a problem with
signals are great. When
the,
I turned it on at 5:30, I
check.
just wanted to check into the weather. That that controller was in. I think he's in New Hampshire. I'm not sure. I could barely hear him on Jerry's radio. I went to Virginia, and boom, he popped right in. So I checked in from Virginia. By the time I come back, he was loud and clear on this antenna. So,
I got a problem with this microphone.
Propagation changed pretty quick this morning.
It's freaking
Jerry,
out.
are you awake yet? WT1B.
Yeah. Just barely awake, guys. Barely awake. Frank, I can't hear you, so you might need to reset.
Okay, stand by. I'll reset.
I think I got a cable going bad here. Let me know if you hear any scratching. I've got it. Sounds like a short in the rack. Just started this morning, so let me know if I've been hearing it. I'm monitoring it. I may have to go over to a different mic. Good morning, Jerry. Happy 4th of July.
Yeah, good morning, Steve. No, I don't hear any noise at all. It's perfect. Yeah, happy 4th of July. Boy, it rained
I think it's
really
a connector in the back. Yeah, hey, guess what I did yesterday? Just take a guess. What have I been thinking about doing? It has to do with wire. What do you think I did?
He must have put up another antenna.
Nah, I got a hair in my butt, so I stuck a reflector underneath the loop. That's about 40, 41, 42 feet beneath the loop. And I was kind of looking to see what kind of interaction there was. And, oh, yeah, it sees it there. I don't know how it's working. It's just laying on the ground, right on the ground, about 5% larger than the driven loop above it. So I figured, what the heck, I'm not going to bury it. I just wanted to try it, so I don't know. We'll see. It did affect it radically. and it's going to require some tuning, but I'm going to just play with it for now. I was listening to a station in North Carolina, and he was 30 over in here. So it's hearing okay, but I don't know if it's made any difference. The problem is, from what I looked at in the CBIC article, it puts the radiation very, very high. Like 77 degrees, something like that, or even higher, 77 to 83 degrees or something. I mean, it's like straight up, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to make a difference or not. Playing with it, though. It can't stay there. That's the problem, because I'm not going to bury it, and I certainly can't mow over it. Go ahead.
Can't you staple it to the ground?
That's what do they make something like that? I would love to do that. Just something, do they make like a long staple type thing? I mean, it would take an entire season for that to just, for the turf to cover it.
Well, that's what I did with all my radials. I got like 40 radials, and they're just staples. And I just made my own staples. Just get yourself some heavy wire. And I don't know what I used. I picked it up at the farm and tractor, I guess. And I cut it to maybe a 12-inch length, bend it over in a U shape, and push it in the ground over the wire. And you'd be surprised. I've never hit one with the mower.
Yeah, go ahead, Frank. That is brilliant, man. Never thought of that. See, that's a veteran move right there. I haven't been in it long enough. Go ahead, Frank. Oh.
Yeah, you guys doubled, but Frank was saying the same thing. Just get some electric fence wire.
Oh, that's beautiful. Go ahead, Frank. Pick it up. My sinuses are jacked. I got stuff running into my chest. Just really bad allergy. I shouldn't have allergies. I don't think it's too early for ragweed and stuff like that, but bleh. I woke up all goopy. I feel good, but my sinuses have been bugging me for the past, I don't know, week and a half, 2 weeks. So, I'm kind of hacking and puking here. Get your masks on. Got a COVID outbreak going here. Better not be. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, WT1B. Okay, I take it, Jerry, you can hear me.
Lawn staples.
How that works. I have to reboot. I have to try to remember that. I don't know what. Maybe it's when I'm on and you come on, and then I have to reboot every time. I haven't got the sequence of when that's occurring all the time. So it seems like every time we try it. Anyway, did you get rained out yesterday? I know you were. I guess after a while there, I figured you told me you were outside in the deck there. Then I saw a good storm come through, and I wonder if you got pushed off the back deck, and then was it electrical storm? And I was kind of surprised maybe you didn't shut down the radio, but I did use it to get on the Green Mountain Net, W1JWC, WT1B.
Elaine.
Yeah, there was a number of storms that came through. So we just we were out on the front porch, and then we moved to the back. I dried everything off, with a big blower, and then eventually we moved to the back, and it was okay. But it came down really hard during the afternoon, and a little bit of thunder and lightning. I almost was going to shut things down, but it wasn't that bad. So I'm just trying to wake up here now. Whoa. Today is another day, and we'll do more of the same. And then Carrie and Ed are going to head back tomorrow around probably around noontime. So they'll head back to Boston. Boy, their dog is he's in tough shape. I mean, he's still doing okay, but the hind legs, the back legs are really, really going. He's not too mobile these days. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, too bad when they get that old. It's just
Man, Frank, sounds good.
on the wall. Yeah, you have to make a decision. What's better for the dog? I guess put him down or let him go through the suffering and whatnot. So, it happens every dog. Well, most of my dogs have kind of. I don't know if we put any down. I had a Malamute. I know that died right at the kitchen table, begging for food. He had a heartworm or something. Boom, just toppled over.
Oh,
He wasn't that old. He was maybe 10 years old or something. And let me see. The last one we had was Maximilian. That little dachshund, and that's the one that we went out one night and came back, and we put him in Beth's bedroom downstairs up in Savoy. He took every ounce of cloth and fabric that was in her mattress and took it out of the springs. The only thing left was springs showing. That dog was terrible, I'll tell you. We never did that again. Back to you.
Oh man, wow, yeah, no, we've had all labs late, past 15, 20 years, and both labs we had to put down because of the back leg problem. They're big dogs, and that's kind of the first thing that goes in. So this one that she's got is, 12 or 13 years old. So yeah, I think this is probably be the last time I'll see this guy. And then our dog is a lab too, and he's 11 or 12. Well, he's probably 10 or 11, I guess. And he's doing good, but you can see him slowing down. So it like you say, they all get it. Go ahead, Steve. W1JWC.
Yeah, these purebreds. Fuss with something here. I think I got one of the patch cords in the back of the rack. I'm going to digress for a second. The barrels on the outside of the connector, they come loose, and then if the table jiggles, it kind of it affects the shield, the ground, and it starts scratching. I don't know if that was it. Hold on. Yeah, I'm going to have to go upstairs and get a glass of water or something, man. I got garbage hanging in there. Yeah, what was it, a year ago, this past spring? I'm still not over it, man. Our Airedale, we've had 2 Airedales. His name was Jazz. Jazz as in music, the jazz man, I call him. He, I think he suffered a grand mal seizure. I think that's what they call it. And he died in my arms the following morning. The vet said, well, there's really nothing we can do for him. Just check his gums, look at his gums. You can bring him up if you want to. He was 10. He was only 10, and then come to find out, he was my best bud. I'm alone a lot, and he was he was just a wonderful dog. I used to take him up to school, and he'd play with the kids at school. My daughters, when I go up to pick up my daughter, and I'd cut him loose. He'd jump out of the truck and he'd go out and tear around. So I socialized him with children, because I wanted a good dog with kids. And he's just such a great dog. And we did some reading and found out, well, that's not unusual for an Airedale. 10, 12, that's about the time when they keel over. So they don't live very long. I was surprised, but I'll tell you, 10 years goes by in a snap of a finger, doesn't it? It's crazy. And funny, regarding that story, Frank, and boy, Frank, your audio is just so nice. I just can't believe it. I got to make a recording of it, light up Audacity, and let you hear it. That story about the dog, the first dog we ever had, we were living in a single wide up in a place called Scottsville, which is only about 7 miles up the road from here. It's really deep. I mean, it's like deliverance territory, terrifying place. And the dog, we didn't trust the dog. We obviously did. We left. We didn't want to put him outside, and we didn't want him to have full run. We were just renting, and we left. We locked him in our bedroom, in the master bedroom, and he was a big dog at that point. He was probably 85 pounds. He was like a shepherd Rottweiler mix, and we came home, and he was in the process. He had tried to chew through the door, destroyed the door, pulled up the carpet, chewed that, took a dump on our pillows. There was a huge dump right on the pillows, on the bed, and he had taken the wicker hamper, and he completely destroyed the wicker hamper. And when we opened the door, he was sitting there, laying there, with wicker hanging out of his mouth. I mean, I didn't even think of taking a picture of it. It was hilarious. I mean, it wasn't funny. We had to pay for all the damage, but yeah, that dog was nuts, man. Just separation anxiety, completely uncontrollable. Go ahead, Frank.
Oh boy, that's quite a story. Dogs. When they don't want to be alone, they don't want to be alone. I mean, they're so attached to their masters and to the family, and they'll do just about anything. I think if I got another dog, I would probably go through a real training thing with them to get them to go into a crate at night, because I don't particularly would want dogs to be laying all over furniture and in bed at night. Of course, that's not Jerry's. It doesn't mind that, but it's everybody's got their own thing. I just still need to be trained for that. And barking, no barking.
Check my mic gain here. Check audio 1 2.
Train them real quick that you don't bark unless it's really necessary. I don't know how you train them to bark when it's necessary. I guess. Well, the thing to do is when people knock at the door, don't just bark. Or I've seen my kids have had dogs where they get on the telephone and the dog won't stop barking, and boy, is that annoying! I'll tell you. So that's probably the two things I would do if I had a dog. Daryl wants a dog real bad, and problem is we travel so much. We're off like to the Navy reunion every year, and it's all over the country. And the thing is, it's not like we're going to go there and come back here and then go north. We're always just like on our way. We leave here, we go to reunion, our next stop is up in Massachusetts. So you would have to take the dog with you. So I guess if I get really so that I can't leave the house, we might get a dog. But then there you go. You're getting too old, and you don't want to pass away and leave the dog with someone else. But I don't know. Dogs are really great. Over to you, Jerry.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they are. We enjoy having a dog, and he's good. He's not a barker. He doesn't bark. Only if something comes in the yard, another animal or something like that. Once in a while, he'll bark if he wants food or something, but not bad at all. So anyway, I'm still trying to wake up. My voice isn't here yet. And I guess trying to think here. Usually used to be a big parade here down Main Street every 4th of July. In fact, it's been on national TV. It's been televised a few times. That's not going to happen this year. So it's going to be a different 4th of July for a lot of people. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, I was listening up on 3906, like I had mentioned before, K1GMM, and audio's a little hot. Somebody said that Pittsfield, Mass. I heard him say Pittsfield, Mass. The parade in Pittsfield is the oldest. what the heck did they say? The oldest parade. There was kind of a dispute on there. This was, I don't know, about an hour ago. I was listening, 3906, and said Pittsfield is like the oldest parade in the United States or something. And somebody's like, no, I thought such and such Rhode Island was, or something like that. Is that true, Jerry? Go ahead.
Well, I don't know for a fact if it's the oldest one, but I can't ever remember it not happening. Frank, do you know the answer to that?
I really don't know the answer, but I missed that conversation. I got up. I always turn it to the radio on 3906 and listen to the oh God, what's their net called? And the guy from Pittsfield, Steve Flood. What's his call? SZH or something like that. Yeah, he's of course always pretty strong, and he's running. I think he just bought a new Flex or something, or maybe a 7300. No, I didn't hear that, but I don't know the answer to that. But it could very well be. Steve, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, they were talking about the Statue of Liberty as well. Said I remember one of them said something like, what did they say? It was 300 and they were talking about how tall it was, how high it is. 384 feet or something like that. Got a little history lesson this morning on third. Yeah, I never listened on 3906. Kind of an interesting group. It's not like an organized net. It's just like this massive people come and go and just chime in just like what we're doing here, you know. But it was kind of interesting. Who's that station in North Carolina, Frank? Boy, he was stomping in here this morning. Go ahead.
Well, he kind of runs in that. Nobody really runs it, but he opens it up and he closes it. He IDs every 10 minutes. I don't write any call signs now, but his name is Dennis. I call him Menace, actually, because there's two Dennises. There's a Dennis 1 and then there's Menace. And he just organizes it, and I don't know where they came from.
Audio. 1, 2.
I
check.
remember years ago when I got on the 3905 WeatherNet, there was never
sorry, guys.
A group. They always got on 3905 like a half an hour before the net started. At 5:30, they would get on at 5 to hold the frequency. Well, these guys showed up, so they must have come from some other frequency, got moved up another frequency, but they've been doing it. It's kind of neat the way you do it. It just, you throw comments in, and they're pretty interesting to listen to. Go ahead, Jerry.
I looked it up. The oldest, it looks like the oldest 4th of July parade is Bristol, Rhode Island. Go ahead, Steve.
That's what somebody said. Yep, somebody mentioned that, Bristol, Rhode Island. So, yeah, interesting. I found lawn staples, Bigaro in Home Depot, Creepo, for $10 for like, I don't know what it is, 75 of them. I don't even think I can buy it. You know, I looked. Have you guys seen this cost of wire in the past couple years? I mean, good grief, man. What was it? Solid core 12 gauge. Coated 12 gauge, cheapest wire you can get at like Home Depot. It's like, what was it? $58 or $59 or for a spool of a 500-foot spool. Are you kidding me? Wow. That's just, it's been a while since I bought wire. You know, I have so much wire here, and I used almost every bit of it to get that reflector out. Every bit that was left over. I thought I had a lot of wire sitting around. Nope. It's all out there except for maybe about 30 feet left. I've got a 30-foot little winding left of 12 gauge, and that's why I was looking. I was like, geez, I don't know if I have enough wire to do this. Go ahead.
Well, we use, I don't know, Jerry, have you checked the prices on what we use? We use that like 14 gauge stranded coated wire, 500 feet roll from Home Depot or Lowe's. It's usually around $45. I bet that's gone way up too.
Yeah, I last time I walked by the electrical department, I kind of looked at it. It was like $65.
Yeah, it's huge. Stranded, forget it. Yeah, Stranded is more than solid. I kind of wanted Stranded, and I went, well, looks like I'm going with solid core. It was ridiculous. I can't remember what I paid for the last 500-foot spool. Maybe, I don't know, 40 something dollars. I think it was 44 something. Or, I mean, come on, man, that's just stupid. I know a lot of guys who was telling me you use electric fence wire. One of you guys told me that. You get it from like Tractor Supply, right, or something like that.
Yeah, you can use. We use it for the ground radios, radios and staples in the ground.
How do you? Because some guys use it for antennas, but the velocity factor, that's what is that stuff? That's coated. What is it, like a galvanized wire? That's like a steel core, isn't it? Velocity factor is a huge difference between copper and that stuff, I thought. How do you get an antenna tuned with that stuff? I know a lot of guys use it. Go ahead.
I know I never use it, but do you, Jerry? You know that?
I've only used copper.
Yeah, I think we stick to Stranded because it's certainly a lot stronger.
Yeah, you start bending that solid core. I'll tell you, when I first started putting antennas up, I was I literally in hell. Constantly broken feed points and all kinds of stuff until I finally figured out a way to stabilize everything. The coax, the connect, because all the coax I use, it's like LMR 400. I have one run of RG8, which someone gave me. That's on this antenna right now, and that's a pretty good run. It's about 100 it's probably about 80 feet. And then it comes to the switch, but 400 comes into the shack on everything. No, I shouldn't say that. I got Davis Berry Flex on the 20 meter phase loops out there. But yeah, keeping things from breaking. If it's a solid center pin, I'll tell you, man, I just couldn't figure out how to do it. Finally, I smartened up. You can't have that feed when things are dancing in the wind, and the wind blows, and I'd see the coax just wagging back and forth out there. It doesn't take many times for that to break. It bends back and forth a few times, and it's pretty much, toast. Geez, there was some. Oh yeah, I'll tell you in the next go. Kind of a funny story. Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, my ladder line is solid, and I always say one of these days that thing's gonna break. It just bounces up and down like crazy in the wind as the trees are swaying, and my center point is not anchored; it's just hanging because I don't have anything to tie it down with. So as the trees go back and forth, the wire's going up and down, up and down, up and down. I can almost tell. I can look out the window and almost tell you how windy it is, what the wind speed is by watching how much my ladder line bounces up and down there. Steve, go ahead.
That's amazing because I never. Well, it was up a year at a time, probably. Yeah, probably. The Cobra, it's got the 450 on there. Very, very thin, solid wire on each side of the line. And I swore that was just not going to last. And boy, that stuff doesn't break, man. It's really good. It's not like one of the big, but it's very rigid. I think that's a copper-clad steel, isn't it? It's not like a center pin on some of this coax like 400. 400, that's very brittle, man. You take that with a pair of pliers, you bend it back and forth a few times, and it just snaps right off. Ladder line's not like that. Like I can't, like as an example, you ever notice this? You cannot bend that with your fingers in a short bend. You have to use a pair of pliers. That's got to be like a steel inside or something, right?
Yeah, I don't, it looked like the ladder line I had was just copper. I guess I don't even remember where I got the stuff.
I know you can solder to it.
Oh yeah, yep, yeah. It's definitely copper coated something, but boy, it is strong stuff. Especially the 450 I have. Oh, I got here's what I was gonna tell you. It's pretty funny.
Works earlier on before Jerry came on. I would imagine Paul is probably sleeping in this morning because at the campground they usually start about a week before the 4th of July. I mean, we've got.
Hey,
I was
Chris.
saying this yesterday or the day before.
Cheers.
We got these people that live around just outside the campground. That man, they really have contests going back and forth. And then, of course, and Jerry, you've probably seen it, right? I mean, we're only a quarter of a mile from Pontoussac Lake. You get down by the lake, and you'll wind up like last night and tonight. You'll see cars be all parked alongside the lake because it'll be a light show. And it's beautiful, really, because they're all throwing fireworks off on the other side of the lake, and it's tremendous the amount of money that they put into this stuff. I mean, it's like a professional light show. Did you hear much going on last night, Jerry?
No, let's see, when did I go to bed? Probably around 9:30, 10 o'clock. A couple went off, but I didn't hear a lot.
Well, tonight will be the night.
Yeah. I guess the police kind of turned their head the other way. Although they did, I thought it was in the paper they're going to crack down on it this year.
Well, I got to tell you this. I flashed through a news conference. Somebody, somewhere in Boston, Massachusetts, high level, and this guy's on there stating it is absolutely against the law to have fireworks in the state of Massachusetts. Oh my God, give me a break. I mean, they have turned their heads the other way for the last 100 years and never have done anything about it. I can't remember any police ever.
Look at that path on APRS. Did you see that?
It's not going to happen.
I think they just say it to say it. Maybe it will curtail it a little bit, but I don't think they're going to do anything about it.
This is the.
There's always the guy
which
that
one
blows
is
his
this?
hand off, oh my
Yeah,
God,
KD2AYD. This just hit a digipeater down in Pennsylvania. That's a haul, man. Yeah, what's funny is I've got which this is horrid, man. I just found this out about a week and a half ago. My next door neighbor, I remember talking to him. Oh, this was months ago. This was last year sometime. He's always been very good to us, and he brings a brush hog up the side of my driveway, and he's got a lot of property. He has a nice tractor and everything, and fix my driveway when we get a heavy washout. Never asked him, and he never would even knock on the door. I'd hear a noise, and I'd look out the window, and there he was, and his wife was retired state trooper detective, I think, and she just passed away about a week ago. About a week and a half ago now, from ALS. And I remember talking to him, and he's like, "Yeah, we're thinking about selling, moving out of here, and we're really looking forward to retirement." And I mean, and she was like, she's a big girl, tall. Never really knew her, but just weird, man. Really weird, and it took her really quick. So I know that's kind of like a sideshow, but the point of this whole thing is, I got ex-Rutland cop, which he's an ex-Rutland cop, state police detective, literally right next door. And this place is like a war zone with fireworks. With that idiot across the street. I think they even themselves shot him off in the field up back. They had some big fireworks things going years ago. So it's pretty funny. Now look the other way. K1GMM.
Well, I don't know why they just don't make them legal. Because they happen every year, and even the like you say, the government, the people, the police, they're shooting them off too. So I would think that they could just make them legal. I mean, that's just the way marijuana went, right? Roger.
Yeah, that's too bad, Steve, on this guy's wife. When was she diagnosed with it? Because I don't think people typically live too long with that.
Check.
2 to 5 years or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't long. Jerry. Very fast. I think it was maybe 9 months to a year. I hadn't talked to him. It was one of my neighbors was telling me. He said, "No, because I remember one of the gals up. I couldn't figure out what was going on. One of the gals up top from me, family. The wife contacted me. I'm selling my wife's Can-Am Spider." And she said, "You're on Troll Hill. I'm on Troll Hill." She says, "Where are you?" So I told her, I said, "Oh, you must be up top, up that nightmare." She says, "Oh yeah, that's where we live, all the way up top here. You ought to see it. It's built on a cliff, man. It's ridiculous. That driveway is insane." When Irene hit, the gully in the center of it was 6 to 10 feet deep in spots. Took the driveway right out. It was like just a ravine when it was done with it. Amazing. She's like, "Yeah," she says, "Helene's really ill, very sick." And I thought, what? Just really weird. And then all of a sudden and this was in a matter of just 3 or 4 weeks. The woman told me that, and I can't remember her name now, Valerie, I think. And then all of a sudden, another neighbor from across the street saw her at the mailbox, and she says, "Oh yeah, so and so passed away 2 days ago." I was like, and I guess Bill, he quit he was working in what do you call it, a country club, a private country club in Manchester. He quit that last year to take care of her, and then she spent pretty much her final weeks with a feeding tube. And I don't know. I mean, this is all third person, so whatever. I'm not even going to go any further. So I don't know what to believe, but yeah, crazy, man. Quick, really fast there, Jerry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a shame there. I'll tell you, there's always something that people, you expect on living a nice, ripe old age, and something gets you. I missed how old she was, Steve. How old was she?
Well, they aren't very old. They're kids. I mean, she was spent a career in state police, and I think that's kind of like the military. They don't look old. They didn't look. I don't even think they're 60. Well, yeah, they may have been 60 by now, because Helene actually retired from state police a few years ago, and then she went to work for some kind of was in Rutland, something to do with health care for mental illness. I don't know, something like that. Something to do with that. I can't remember. So yeah, I mean, they weren't old. Their kids are. I think they had 2 or 3 kids, and they're all like anywhere from, I think, 19 to 23, somewhere in there. So the kids are young. So yeah, they couldn't have been that. She couldn't have been that old. She didn't look old. I remember about a year and a half ago, I saw her in the supermarket, and not even I don't even think she had any gray hair on her head. You know what I mean? I'll tell you, she didn't look 60, or she didn't look 60, 65. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's young today. Of course, it's easy for me to say that because I'm 67. I still want to be young.
Hey, Jay, what's up, dude?
I don't know. Frank, you're doing good there. Boy, I tell you, 80-year-old man, you should have seen him down here last year, lifted up my hex beam. Go ahead, Frank.
he feels like he's 180 today with all that's going on. Yeah, this Lou Gehrig's disease area. He was 38 when he died with it. So,
Wow.
and this ALS is pretty bad stuff. I guess you don't last too long. Yeah, I've been doing pretty good up until now. I tell you, I hope I get a comeback here because this thing, you can't do anything with pain. I'll tell you, you just can't function. It's hard. Daryl's going through it right now. We're pretty bad yesterday. She basically was chair ridden and walking around with a walker, my walker that I had for I got a few years ago when my hip went on a joint. Have you ever played extreme cornhole, Steve? I did one time. We're out in Ohio, and I threw the first bag, and my hip went right out of the socket to the point where I was going down, and I righted myself with the other leg, and it snapped back in. Everybody told me they could hear it click out and click back in.
Oh my God!
It had to take me to the hospital. I thought my hip was broken or something. I couldn't function. I couldn't even walk. I've never, I bowled all my life. I mean, I'm a bowler, 200 average bowler, and this thing, the stupid extreme ring toss, and
hey, Carl, what's up, Carl? Gee, it's been a long time.
So I haven't played that game too much since then. I have a couple of times, but being very careful. But you never know when something's going to slip on a joint like that. And this pain that I've got now kind of feels that way. I think it's getting better, so we're not giving up yet. Go ahead, Steve. WT1B.
Hey, Jerry, what is wrong with him? What is up with Frank? Remember I said he doesn't come across as sounding, I just can't believe he's 80 years old. Kind of reminds me of my father. You're like a bull in a china closet, aren't you, Frank? You do stuff. No, and I've never even heard of that. I don't know what you're talking about throwing something. No idea. Never even heard of it before, I don't think. Yeah, Jerry, what is up with Frank? I mean, everybody says, I'm like a 14-year-old trapped in a 55-year-old body, but Frank is like exponentially worse. He's like a 2-year-old. Frank, you got to stop. You got to knock that. You got to knock that crap off, man. It kind of reminds me of this guy I know. He lives down the street, and he's down towards Emerald Lake State Park, right there at the entrance. And this guy, this was 20 years ago, okay? I used to do a lot of fishing with him. He could barely walk then. You ought to see him now. He's got to be in his early 60s, probably, mid-60s. He can't even hardly move. And he could barely walk back there. I said, what is wrong with you? He used to go fishing with me down on the shore in the boat. And he says, it's a lifetime of rugby. He was a big rugby player. And I'll tell you what, even in his early 40s, that guy was busted up. Knees completely destroyed. Hips, everything. Couldn't even hardly stand up in a boat, he walked like he was in agony. And this was 20 years ago. So yeah, now you can picture what he looks like, but that's a result of that behavior. I know he's sorry. He's sorry he did that. He did that all through, even in adult leagues and stuff like that. Once he was out of school, guys, and he's not a big guy. He's only about maybe 5'7", 5'8", but good grief, man, totally demolished. Yeah. I was going to tell you, I'll never remember it. So, go ahead, Jerry. Okay, where is everybody? Where's Paul? Yeah, he's still snoozing, isn't he? And how, Jerry? How's my signal down there? I want to make sure that this thing isn't. Is it the usual, or is it lower than usual? You guys are doing pretty good. There is a little QSB bench, trying to really tighten up, but it's all right. Go ahead, K1GMM.
K1A.
Oh, there's Paul. Good morning, Paul. Happy 4th of July there. Oh, you're anywhere from 5 over to 20 over. You know, there's quite a bit of QSB on the band, Steve.
Okay, so that's standard issue. That's usually where I'm at, right? And good morning, Paul.
Contact. Anybody got the radio? Yeah, there's a contact in there. Go ahead to contact. Go ahead.
Hey, thank you for picking me up, sir. I just got a sick, I'm a senior citizen sticking to that. The one that you sound pretty good over here in Rowley, New Jersey. My name is Duke. I don't think I'm wrong out here, really. It's KC2GLU. Sir, thank you for picking me up, all right? Thank you.
Okay, I think it was KC2GLU, and I couldn't quite. You were way down in the mud. I thought the name was Duke, but did anybody else have a copy on him?
KC2GLU, the name is Duke in Rowley, New Jersey. And I appreciate you trying to. I know I'm a little low on my water and everything, and I appreciate it, sir. Hey, have a happy 4th of July, you and your family on both sides.
Yeah, Duke, you're 5'9", pretty much solid S9 up here in Vermont, and the call's Kilo 1 Golf Mike Steve. Happy 4th there, over.
4th to you too, and have a great day. Go ahead, Paul. WT1.
Okay, thank you, sir. You have a great day. Thank you again.
7:30.
Well, happy 4th of July to everyone. Steve, Jerry, and Frank. And, boy, I tell you one thing. Steve don't know Frank, right, Jerry? The only thing, I've been listening for a little while. And just
Hey, Gareth, what's up, dude? Thanks for the happy wishes here. 230GGO UK.
Mike on, and because I got to make an input. And he classified you right on the money after a while. And what do you think, Jerry? Steve made a comment that, well, he's just like a 2-year-old. And you know what? I guess that's a good classification. What do you think, Jerry?
He is. He's...
K1E.
Yeah, he nailed it, huh?
I'll tell you, man, you gotta lock the kitchen cabinets and everything with him around. I wouldn't even allow him in the house, and I'd put all the sharp utensils away and make sure everything is done, because he'd be out there, you know, moving cinder blocks and digging holes or something.
All the way around. So he does well. So I'll give you some flowers, Frank, and good to hear you guys. So I'll turn it over to you, Frank, and move it around. And like I say, happy 4th of July, KU1E.
Okay, there was a little bit of a double in there. Let me just see if I got. Yeah. Okay. Well, he was giving me some pats on the back there, Steve. you were talking. Anyway, yeah. I tell you what, I wasn't a real good athlete. I mean, I did. I did a lot of bowling and golf and stuff like that. But as far as like high school sports, I was on a gym team basically. I was too small. I was like 145 pounds in high school. And then when I went in the Navy, I think the first 3 months I went up to 165, and I'm only 175 now. So, I pretty much maintained my weight after I got in the Navy, but I was a skinny runt in high school, and so I didn't play any contact sports, but I always wanted to. I played Little League ball. That was about it. Anyway, Paul, you're the big home run hitter. This guy here, Steve, if he only knew which softball plate to touch. He was down here in the old timers country. What they have is they have 2 home plates because they can't have old people running into catchers. So when you come in the home plate, you better come across the other plate. So Paul hits a home run, runs around the bases, comes down, tags home plate. They call him out. So he hit the wrong home plate. So he gets up again the next time, and he hits another home run. This time he hits the right home plate. Go ahead, Paul. Take it, and then you can pass it around to Jerry and Steve.
Okay. Yeah, I had to flip my mic on. Yeah, that's one of the 2 stories. As a matter of fact, and to this day, if I'm out and about at a restaurant or something, he says, I remember you. And, with the thing, matter of fact, the other team come and blocked the other plate, as a joke. It was a big tournament, and I thought he blew it when I did that.
Yawning into the camera. You gotta love it.
I was lucky. I hit 3 home runs that day. I'm only a little guy, but I had pretty good bat. And matter of fact, the pitcher come down and shook my hand. He says, for a little guy, he says, I can't believe how you hit that ball. He says, good job. So I felt good. It was a lot of fun. But I'm labeled around what people are still around. So, yeah, we can't catch Frank. He's 80 and whatever. I try. I have a birthday every year, but I still can't catch him. And we do pretty good. And, yeah. So, yeah, we're going down to the kids today, and we're having a 4th of July picnic. Of course, they have the pool, and that makes it nice. We got it for ourselves and that. So, and the sun is out, so it looks like it's going to be a great day. Yeah. And we got a good menu. We got steak, and we got ribs, and Mary made some. She didn't want to go with potato salad. She's going to make twice baked potatoes, which she's got going.
Oh,
and
yummy.
She makes a special cake, it's a roll she makes with cream and these real thin chocolate wafers. I think you've had that, Frank. And she's made one of them. And let's see. Oh, yeah. She went and bought shrimp, and she makes up a shrimp dip for the potato chips. So we're ready to party. All right. I'll let it go around here. I'm going to turn it to you, Frank, and push it where it has to go. K1E.
I guess Jerry gets it. Go ahead, Jerry.
It doesn't matter who gets it. Oh, that's good, Paul. Sounds good. I think I had Mary's cake. I think when we were up there once with Frank and Daryl all sitting around your place, I think she might have brought some of that out, if I recall. I don't know. That was probably a year ago, or maybe the year before. But, yeah, I was never into any kind of sports. I was always in the basement playing with wires and stuff, electronics.
He's a geek. Jerry's
the
a
only
geek.
sports I really ever did, believe it or not, was after I had the stroke. I went to physical therapy, and the therapist says after he got me to the point where I could walk again, he says, we're going to kick this up a notch. And he brought me downstairs into a racquetball room, and he taught me how to play racquetball as physical therapy. And it was amazing. It was a genius idea because it really, really brought a lot back to me as far as movement was concerned. And it made me think, I kind of wish I maybe did a little more sports in my younger years. But I was never good at it and never really cared. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, I remember those days when you were just coming back, and you did good. The only time you failed me, though, Jerry, was, Steve, when I was putting my antenna up behind my camper there where Paul is. We got our camper there, too. And I'm up on the top rung of the ladder. And I'm trying to get this antenna as high as I get it, and the ladder slips out. And my good buddy Jerry, he was just coming back from
Hey, Peter, what's up, dude?
From the stroke, and he had a little trouble.
Hey, Peter, good morning. Happy 4th of July, bud.
Grabbed the ladder, and he just kind of froze, and he couldn't grab the ladder, and this tree had a lot of bark on it, and I had given it a bear hug to keep me up there, and I just kind of slid down that tree, and oh my God, did that hurt. K1GMM, WT1B.
I hate that. That is like the ultimate nightmare for me. I do not like heights or being on a ladder anyway, so fortunately you weren't up 30 feet or something like that. I don't think, right? Yeah, I can't bring 30 feet high. Or maybe you were, I don't know. Jeez, there's. You know what Frank reminds me of, you guys? Kind of like my dad. He's a lot different than my dad, build wise, but I could see Frank behaving like this. My father, you know, he made his living and they made enough to retire just by flipping houses. But he did all the work himself except the big stuff. You name it, partitions, floors. He at 70, what was he, 73, 74 years old, he'd spend all day on his knees putting down a wide-board pine floor. I know because I was down there and I helped him. The guy, you know, he was 6'2", skinny as a rail, and we're talking old school. When he was growing up as a kid, he spent his son. I'll tell you, these kids today, these punks today, they got it made. I had it made. Even I did. He spent his summers. They had to do how much wood? They had. We still have the house in Pleasant Valley, Connecticut. It's an old homestead. It was a farm. 20 cord. I think it was 20 cord of wood. They used horses, pole horses, and they go over with 2-man buck saws, and they'd drop the trees, buck saw them into log length, and then hand cut them again into firewood length, and hand split it. And that's what he spent, 20 cord of wood, him and his father. That's what he spent every summer doing. Just unbelievable, right? So fast forward to about 2008, I had to put in I think it was 2007, 2008, I had to put a new pump into the shallow spring. And I decided, because the line was leaking, I actually had to replace the line. So I hired an excavator. He came in, exposed the old line. I tore that out, replaced a new line, but he couldn't get close to the tile for obvious reasons. So he didn't want to crack the tile, right? So I had to hand dig that. So I'm in that thing, shoveling, and I could not get down to that line, you know. And water was all around, and I couldn't get in there. And I'm in there about 20 minutes, and it wasn't a big area. I should have been able to get it. I couldn't get it. And Dad's like, give me that, you know. He's 70 at the time. He says, give me that shovel. He gets in there, and he exposed that line, I kid you not, in about 30 seconds. You know, and I just looked at him. I said, Dad, how? You know, and he says, I'll tell you what, when you grow up doing this stuff, you just know how to do it. You know, a shovel is a shovel, but not in the hands of someone who grew up doing it. You see where I'm going? I'll tell you, I could not believe my eyes. I've seen that guy work. He could work me under the table. Just an absolute maniac, you know. That's where I got it from, but I kind of wish I was like that. You know, he didn't look strong, but I'll tell you, it was all technique. Yeah, it was really, really interesting to watch him work. Go ahead, Paul. K1GMM.
There you go. I've been around, I use the term, a lot of old timers or seniors, and even the different trades I was in.
Hey, Greg, what's up, dude? Good morning. Good afternoon. What time is it?
They have that touch, I'll call it.
Yeah, good afternoon over there.
And whether they're working on cars or whatever. And we all have things with our dads, and my dad was the same thing. He would do anything, and I don't know how many, different houses we could build them easier. Although my uncle built a couple houses.
15 over in Port Chester. Cool.
Do it, but they are just so talented. And my dad wouldn't waste anything. I used to hate it. We had a house.
Just to let you guys know, I placed a reflector. Any newcomers, I put a reflector underneath this loop.
It was all pipes and stuff. And when we pulled nails, they even had those square
It did
nails
change the.
he put them in coffee cans, and he'd go and he says, "Here."
The Q increased, or it moved the resonant point. So I'm going to have to do some trimming, but
He didn't throw
I don't know if
anything
it made
away
a difference on the signal.
But he was a perfectionist. Matter of fact, he was an inspector in the GE, And
Yeah,
also,
it's right.
not this in
It's right at ground
politics,
level.
over to Navy ordnance and everything.
It's right on the ground,
They know
just
when
to see if it worked. And boy, did it change it
look at
radically
something that
in the way it loads.
the
Holy
story
crap!
was it's right or it's wrong.
About
It's
40
not
feet.
like it'll be okay. If he, you
Oh,
said
cool,
you want a
Billy.
different answer than that, you always call the engineer that might supersede or go over it. But most of the times, when they called, it was like, nope, Paul is right. So the dads have some certain traits that are quite unique that we all remember. And like I say, he could just take stuff that looked like garbage and make it work.
Yep.
Over to you, Frank. K1E.
Oh, WT1B. We got good recognition to dads going on here. I think we all have we had some unique dads for sure. Mine was kind of the same way. They used to call him Doc because he worked at Transformer Department at GE, and he could fix anything, and so they nicknamed him Doc. I mean, if he mechanically, if he needed a part, you would build it. You didn't go down the store and buy it; you built it. I remember as a kid, he built he got an old bus. He took the motor out. He built a sawmill, and
Guys,
he
I
put
gotta
the
mute it for a
sawmill
second.
up. They're talking about a sawmill, a blade that's what? This thing with log skidders and everything. We had a Caterpillar tractor, and we had a skidder, and I was like 12 or 13. I remember taking the Caterpillar. I would drive the Caterpillar up in the back.
QSB is really sharp.
All the trees down, and we'd be trimming them and with the can dogs, rolling them up on the skidder and bringing them back in. And he'd be sawing lumber, and he was providing lumber for Kelly Lumber down in Coatesville, Jerry, if you know where that was. Actually, in Coatesville, my father had a chance to buy Coatesville.
Oh,
Right where McDonald's is, on the original McDonald's.
yeah. Let me address that, Peter.
For $500. That land is probably worth $20 million now, or probably more. I mean,
I'm going to run upstairs quick.
A place that he could have got that for like
but I'm gonna
$500.
address that.
There was nobody in there at the time. Of course, this is way.
I'm going to address that, Peter. Give me a minute here.
A lot of,
I'm going to run upstairs. Before I run upstairs, I got to go up and get another coffee, and I'll be back down. But I'll address that in a second there, Pete.
I mean, not a kid. Yeah, when I was young, I would have to buy it in logs and I would split it. But I'll tell you one thing we did. At one time we got about 10 acres from the state, Massachusetts State Forest, and there was 4 of us went in there and we toppled all the trees and cut them out. I don't know how many cords we got. We got a lot of cord of wood. I had a lot of them delivered to my house. Probably 12-foot lengths, and I cut them all up and split them. And, so we went through a lot of that. That burning wood is you handle that wood 5 or 6 times, between cutting and stacking and hauling and bringing in to burn and dumping the soot and everything, and it's dirty, but we did it for years. It was fun. And Jerry, I know you got a unique dad too, so we'll turn it over to you. W1JWC, WT1.
Yeah, he was he was the type guy that would do everything. Him and my uncle, I always remember those guys working together and doing things, projects, and you'd be right there. That's how I learned. Let's fast forward here about 50 years, and guys will be having the conversation we're having right now, but they'll be saying to the other kid, the other guy, boy, you should have seen how my father played a video game. Was he good at it? Go ahead, Steve.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's just not right. That is too funny. Oh gosh. Yeah. Boy, I'll tell you what, I miss my dad. I miss my father. He was, and my mother put this so well. Of course, my mother's still devastated. They were together, since right out of high school. Dad went into the service. They were married just before he went into the service, and they were down in Oklahoma at a base down there. Dad was a helicopter technician, I think. He was one of the part of the maintenance crew, I think. Hated flying in those helicopters, called them a flying death trap. Said they were horrible. Never wanted to fly in one because he knew, you know. Of course, this was a long time ago. We're talking what, back in the 50s? Yeah, back in the 50s. And he's, you know, she's told me this a couple times. She says, you know, your father never wanted to hurt anybody. He was the gentlest, kindest person I think I've ever met in my entire life. And I'm not saying that because he was my dad, but, you know, thinking back, I cannot remember a single thing ever coming out of his mouth in my entire lifetime that was degrading, harmful, you know, abusive, even critical. I don't ever remember him even being critical of any people. Just very odd. You know what I mean? Because I am polar opposite of that. I am just, you know, I'm a friggin' blabbermouth. I'll say it exactly like it is. I don't care what anybody thinks. And I honestly don't. I care less whether you like me or not. So I'm just total polar opposite of him, you know. But yeah, but boy, old school. I call it old school. I'll tell you, man. It was a different work ethic, and he never said anything. You know, if anything, he was incredible. He always said, you know, incredibly proud of you guys, and blah blah blah. Just, you know, just very bizarre. You know what I mean? The one thing that I wish they had pushed me into, because Dad was in manufacturing. He had his own manufacturing plant in Winston, Connecticut. He co-owned it with another guy. He left. He was working for Delta when I was a child, and then he opened his own plant, and they were manufacturing aircraft parts. And it was a small plant in Connecticut there in Winston. And, you know, I always loved mechanical drafting. It was a gift. And nobody ever pushed me into that. And I just, that's the one regret I have. It's the only thing I did well in school. I had like a 98 average. I've always been able to do that. See something, and it was from him. I know it was because he could do it. He showed me how to spec out parts and how to use tools, and I can't remember for the life of me now. But I was young. I was like 10 or 12 years old, man. And so yeah, interesting stuff. Listen, I got to run upstairs. I'm going to grab another cup of coffee and. Somebody asked a question on the stream. Have you guys ever used a G7 FEK antenna? G7 FEK antenna. I know a guy that uses one. I was just curious if anybody did, and I'll listen through, and I'm going to grab a coffee. K1GMM. Frank.
Not I. Go ahead, Jerry.
No, don't even think I heard of it. Anyway, all interesting, very interesting. Yeah, like I say, you know, I think it's going to be different 50 years from now when people trade dad stories. Anyway, I got to go grab a coffee too. I haven't even had one yet. I just downed a bottle of water when I got up. So let me jump out of here, and Frank, you and Paul pick it up there. Go ahead, Paul. This is W1JWC.
Okay, got you guys when you get back from your breaks or your duties. Sounds good. No, I haven't heard of that G7 with EFK. I'm not familiar, but okay. Well, Frank, and if anyone else is listening,
All right.
Pretty much.
Okay, so, all right, I'll just, hey, Jerry, good morning, Captain. Happy 4th of July. Let's see, anybody else? Billy, I'll check that out. I did check it. I did get it in Messenger. Thank you. That's a nice rig you got. What is that, an FTDX 5000? Man, that's a nice looking. I'm just wondering if that's 5,000. The FEK. I don't think Paul is watching because he'd chime in. Can't remember his call sign. Harry Paul, we call him. Oh, it's a 9,000. Oh my God, freaking killer. So who asked the Peter? Peter, you asked the question. Harry Paul and Dave. They frequent the stream sometime. They run those. They swear by those antennas. Swear by them. They are phenomenal. The things just freaking work. I would try one. It's not a practical antenna for my QTH. It's radiation pattern, but from what I understand, if you're kind of in the clear, it is a cranker of an antenna. I believe it needs a radial system underneath it. I would try it because those guys, they said it's the best damn antenna they've ever had, and these guys play with antennas. You think I do. They play with lots of antennas. So that's, you like my hair, bedhead? So yeah, that's worth trying. I'd be really curious, Peter, to see how that thing works out for you. Works surprisingly well on 75, 80 meters too. So that'd be worth a shot. All right, I'm going to go grab a coffee. And I'll be back, and I'm going to just kick the audio up, and then I'll, boy, audio. There we go. 68-foot square backyard, so neat ideas. 68 feet square. Oof. Yep, you're going to have to go to some type of vertical or a high-power magnetic loop or a set of magnetic loops, one or the other. Magnetic loops work. They're not hard to build, but they're pricey if you're going to throw power at them. Expensive. Probably a vertical. You're kind of screwed there, Peter. Some type of vertical would work. Yeah, it's not much room. 65 feet square. Man, dude. I'm curious if you have 4 supports. If you had 4 supports, would a 40 meter, I wonder, a random wire full wave loop. Dude, you could probably get, if you had 4 supports, you could probably put up a full wave loop and run that sucker. That would work and multiband it. 65 feet, you could probably, I don't think you'll quite be able to sneak in an 80 meter full wave loop. I think that, how big was that? 68 feet per side. It'll be close. It'll be a tight fit. Yeah, I agree with Billy. I mean, that's a great option. You could even use 2 supports and hang like a Delta or something like that. One side you have power lines. Well, yeah, you're screwed on that. May be able to try a sloper. I ran a sloper for a while. I don't know. You'd have to show us a picture of where those lines are and how much room you have. Verticals are great for DX. They are cack for anything else. They're noisy, and they have excellent takeoff angles, as we all know, for long haul, medium and long haul stuff. But the problem is you need radials. You need something to push against with a vertical. So at face value, it seems, it's really easy. It doesn't take up much room, but no. You got to have some decent number of radials underneath those things to make them work good, which is a lot of work. So I don't know. You can hang a Delta random wire delta, feed it with open wire and pull it out as a sloper. Feed it apex down or whatever. Apex down is very easy because you just need 2 supports. And then you drag the bottom of it out. You may be able to even pull one up horizontal. Don't underestimate a horizontal delta. They work really well. It's a full wave loop. So you may be able to get 3 corners. You see what I'm saying? On something like that. So, yeah, there's ways to skin that cat. You gotta, hey, Bill, what's happening, Captain? I'm running upstairs quick, and I'm going to grab a coffee, and I'll be back in a few minutes here. Woohoo! Woohoo! Rock and roll.
They're like 1-2 acre lots. They're big in there. I don't know if you've ever driven around in there. It's pretty neat in there, actually. It's like behind the Bradley, the plaza there, the shopping plaza. But, we heard a few, but I went to bed about 10 o'clock, and once I...
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it, Paul? There's a lot rolling around upstairs here. Yeah, a DX Commander if you want to buy something. I'm not a big fan of buying things. I hate to say it, guys, but part of learning, I'm just going to throw this out there. Nothing against buying. Do I buy things? Sure, I do buy things. But part of learning about how antennas work is experimentation and building them. Build it like right now. I put a reflector underneath this loop late yesterday afternoon, and I'm looking at it, how it affected the antenna. To me, it doesn't seem like my single is any stronger than it was before. So I think it would be more beneficial to actually spend a lot of time tuning it and getting it really, because it's tuned a little low. It's tuned down in the lower 35s area, and I'm up on 3615. So it's a little out of whack. And I noticed when I put the loop underneath it, the reflector. Glenn. You can put this in standby here. I lost my train of thought. It's just, it's really interesting. What got me into the hobby is antennas. I am fascinated by how antennas work. Absolutely fascinated. And you guys checked the last video that went up when I went through this loop, the specs for the loop. I have changed it. I found out the velocity factor was incorrect that I used. I looked up RG11. You know what they say about assumptions. Assumptions are the mother of all cock-ups. And that was a cock-up. So the velocity factor on the RG11 I was using is actually 0.85. It's not 0.66. I know a lot of it is like 0.72, stuff like that, but this is 0.85. So I had to put a different line on, which did change the antenna. But the problem is I got too much wire on it because it's too close to the ground. You see what I'm saying? It's got trees up against it. It's not touching the trees, but it's close, which will affect the antenna. So oftentimes you have to prune it, shorten it up to make it fall into the kill box. So that's what I have to do at some point. I got to take some wire off of it to get it really dialed in. But yeah, it's fascinating. Yes, it's time consuming. Is it easier to just buy something, throw it up? Sure. But I'll tell you, there's no better reward than putting together an antenna system and having it actually work and work well and learn in the process. So I figured for all the newcomers, don't be afraid of that. Tons of information online, and pretty much everything you need to know is online. You can find it. Nothing wrong with a G5 RV, man. All right, I'll be back.
convert. Well, don't even think about that. That's a tube set there. Get rid of that thing and get yourself a small little TV for that. It's in the bedroom, I think, right? And you could run. Try the antenna that's there. But you told me you took the antenna off, right? Did you get rid of it, or? You could go down and well, you have. Don't you have an HD TV? You got a digital antenna that you brought back north. I don't know. Did that thing fall apart? If so, you could stick another one on there. The big problem is the TV, Paul. You got to get rid of that TV.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll see what it brings. All right. So if I put that TV up there, I probably could run, because different people said they were getting TV stations more than before. There are more stations up here, so I'm gonna have to do a little more inspecting, but that might be worthwhile.
Well, the TVs are so cheap now. I don't even know if you probably can't even buy a real small one anymore. Would you have a little 19-inch up there or something? Or I don't know. You certainly can't buy them. I don't think that small, but get yourself a fairly small TV. You could get the brackets that I put on my TV in my bedroom, and it works great. You could slide the TV out of the way to get into the drawers behind it, the doors for the cabinets, and you can mount the hinge of that, the hole of the TV right inside your cabinets there. So there's a way to get around it. But what you could do is, in the meantime, just take your TV and throw it up there on a chair or something, and connect an antenna up there and see what you get. It'd be interesting to see what we get. Jerry says he's gotten stuff from like Albany, so we're up fairly high. I would think we're in better shape than he is for height as far as pointing towards Albany. Go ahead.
I had to flip my mic on. It takes me a second sometime to find that button. So, yeah, you're right. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I got the other HGTV that I had on my roof was getting old, so I brought it up here. But it disintegrated, so I threw it away last year. But I still have the other components. The original one that goes on the RV underneath, so I ought to be able to put it back together. The coax, of course, comes through the roof. Maybe I can give it a try. Plus, it's got a built-in amplifier in it. So we'll give it a shot, an experiment. Give me something to do. Not that we don't. Mary's been working. She's got her little garden up here, and people are actually taking pictures or commenting how nice it looks. So she's happy with that, and I've been putting around, giving her a hand. So, but the campground, for how many people are here, it's pretty quiet. The kids are buzzing around on their bicycles and stuff, but that's going to happen. He says even all next week in a week, he says he's booked right up. So he went to Springfield and that. And he's got a lot of faces that we never saw up here. And, of course, he says he thinks the 19 people are just looking to go out. So he says that it looks good, and he's, doing very well. So that's good. And it was funny. I was talking, and I think because when he got shut down, he classified for some of that stimulus money, and he didn't say anything to me, but a couple other people mentioned it, and I think he's doing better than we think he is, and that's great. My buddy runs a thing. We went out to eat the other day, the veterans and that, and he was telling here that, and he's small business with about 4 people in that, and he got one stimulus check for $37,000, and another one for a couple others for 9 and 11,000. So he says, hmm, he says, I'm not going to refuse it. So, and plus his business is not doing that bad. He said he's right up as good as above an average year, and stuff. He lost some of the service. People didn't want him to go in and do stuff unless the system was down that he does. But that's that story. So some of these places are doing well under the circumstances. And of course, others are, they really taking it on the chin. Over to you, Frank. K1E.
Yeah, well, it's good to see small business people making out and surviving. I've heard that like 53% that were closed will not open. That's crazy. So it's, I don't know. I guess eventually we'll see what happens, and it'll probably be better for those that stay open, but because there'll be the same amount of people wanting to go out to eat with less restaurants. But it's too bad. People lost a lot of money. I don't know. You just try to stay safe. I gave blood yesterday, donated, and they for the reward. Well, they gave me a $10 gift certificate, and they gave me a shirt, and they're also going to do the antibody test. So I'll get the results of that back in a week. So it'll be interesting to see when I had that fever in March, if that was associated with COVID-19. I've been wanting to get this test. I don't know how accurate it's going to be, but we'll see. Hey, Paul, I'm going to take a break and grab a little English muffin and make another coffee, and probably be back here in that 10-15 minutes or so. So we'll probably catch you then if you're still out and about. KUNE, WT1B.
Okay, Frank. Thanks for sticking around. And, the other guys usually come back later, and we'll see. I think Vito went on a little trip or something. I don't think them guys are going to be around. Catch you later on. KU1E.
That's something too, Paul, you mentioned. Um, like a trap. You can build your own traps. They're a little tricky, I've heard. I've never tried it. But yeah, you can go with traps or something like that, maybe. Hey, ugly. Coming up to speed on the chat here. Hey, I got a question for you guys. I need to take a little wire off this thing. Like I was saying, how much wire would you take off to start with? Let me check. I'm going to actually switch over to the 7300. Kind of curious. Well, everybody's quiet here. Let's see. A 1/4 inch on a full wave loop, Glenn. You know how long that's going to take me? God. I want it resonant, like, I got to check to see how broadbanded this sucker is. So I'm going to do, I haven't looked at it yet. Yeah, see, you guys can't see it. So I need to do another sweep. So let's go. Gotta take the tuner out. Where are we at on the bottom? Make sure the amp isn't keyed. So that's about the lowest I can go. So 50 kilohertz steps. Okay, we're right at the bottom. Yeah, see, it's way low. Okay, 3503 flat, 53 flat, 603 flat, 653 flat, 703. It's about a 1.25 to 1. 753, see it rises sharply. I'm way low. 753 is 1.5, 1.6 to 1. 803, 2 to 1. 853, 2.5 to 1. 903, 2.8 to 1. 953, 3 to 1. No, I don't, Glenn. It's easier for me to cut it, Peter. I got a technique for cutting it. I can cut it right while the antenna's under tension. I got this technique for cutting this stuff. It's all solid core, so it's easy. I cut it, bend the two ends in a hook, step on one side, bend the one side I got in my hand into, strip it, bend it into a hook, take the other side, and I hook it onto my belt loop so it can't go shooting off into the bushes somewhere. It's pretty easy to do, and do the same to the other side. Hook it together, smash them down, and resolder it with a torch. Very, very easy. I really can't bend it, fold it over, because I have to solder them. So, and then I'll have to cut it out. because it's a closed loop. It has to maintain continuity. But yeah, see, I just don't know how much to take off because it's so low. I think I'm going to have to go like a foot. There's 272 feet of wire there. I've played with these loops before, and usually you have to go, if you're that far out, you have to add cut like a foot at a time. It's way out there. And I'm not that anal retentive anymore. As long as it drops in, I'd like it. It looks like it's got plenty of bandwidth. So from like 3,500, there's 200 kilohertz of bandwidth, which is the way it should be. 500 to 700, where was it? 653. So sweep it again. Yeah, 1 point. So it's flat from 3,500 to 3,703. It jumps to still under 1.5 to 1. I wonder if I should even touch it. Yeah, I probably should. Because it's out a little bit. Yeah. All right. Get this out of here. Shut that down. Gotta switch my PTT lines. All right, let's see if anybody's back, and if they are, I'll yak for a few more minutes, and then I'm gonna head upstairs and start my day. I know, Glenn. That's what I worry about. You cut too much off, now you got to add it back on. What a pain in the arse. It really is. It sucks when that happens. It's really not a big deal to put up and down, to take it, I just tie it off. Because it's all through pulleys. I can just yank it back up there. It's a big deal, right? How many times have you cut too much off, Glenn? I can't count the number of times I did that. I'll take this much off, grab the tape measure. Oops. Yeah, that was a mistake. Anybody still around? K1GMM. They may have all cleared off because it's about 10 of 8. Usually everybody bugs out by 8 o'clock. Okay, anybody listening, happy 4th of July. Safe weekend to you, and enjoy those fireworks. We'll catch you all later. 7-3 from K1GMM, north of Manchester, Vermont.
Hey, Steve, just was in the other room. Yeah, we'll say 7-3s to you also.
Yeah. I got a quick question for you, Jerry. I hoped I was going to catch you, and then you can bug out and go relax. I need to take some off of this loop. It's flat at 3503 all the way to 3703. I think it jumps to about a 1.25, or was it 3703. It's about 200 kilohertz of bandwidth. It's flat up until I think it's just under 1.5 to 1 at 3703, and it rises sharply, goes to 3 to 1, over 3 to 1 by the time I'm at 3.9. It's low. It's really low. So if I were going to trim some, I'm pushing a stream right now. One of the guys is like, yeah, I hate it when I cut too much off and have to add it back on. I've been there, done that. I don't know how many times. How much would you start with on a 272 foot long loop? That's a lot of wire. would you go like 6 inches or a foot at a time? It's got, tons of bandwidth, but I'm really low. I'd like it more in the kill box, like up around 3650, 3700, and that would give me plenty of bandwidth to get, because I do go up above 3900 off and on, and boy, she's touchy when I get up above 3900. Go ahead.
Yeah, are you using insulated wire?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I know when I've done antennas where the wire was not insulated, I just fold it back on itself instead of cutting it, to shorten it. That way you don't have to add anything back on. But with insulated wire, I guess you could still do that. You'd have to skin it a little bit and maybe check the SWR before you make and then if it's what you want, then you could make a permanent cut and do it. I guess I would probably start with 6-inch increments. Get a couple deltas at 6 inches, and then you can, if it's not moving fast enough, you can go to the foot mark.
That's a good idea. Why didn't I? Because one of the guys mentioned that, but see, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, see, it's coated wire, so if I fold it back, so I could strip one end, fold it over, make a hook. You know what I'm saying? An eyelet, basically. Solder the eyelet. How do I strip off that much wire, though? Good Lord. Yeah, I'd have to. Time is money. So it's almost worth just cutting it. I've got a technique for reattaching it. It's so simple and easy, and I can do it with the antenna, with the wires under tension. A pair of needle nose pliers. You strip the ends, fold it over in a hook them together, smash them down, grab the torch. You're done. The whole thing takes 30 seconds. I mean, it's stupid. So. Yeah, I was like, boy, it would be nice if I could fold it over onto itself, but if I go like 6 inches a foot at a time, now I got to fuss with getting the coating off of it, so it'll at least make contact, Can't strip 6 inches off at a time. That ain't gonna work. So, all right. I think that's what I'll do. I got to get this. I got to get it settled. Settle this score, baby. All right. Yeah, the loops I fussed with in the past, they've all been deltas. I've never had a horizontal up. And usually you have to go quite a bit. If you're that low, you gotta remove quite a bit of wire. I've gone in like 1 foot increments, and it doesn't change. Then all of a sudden, you get a little carried away, and you keep going 1 foot at a time. Then all of a sudden, boom, the thing goes out of whack, and it goes way high on you. So, yeah, all right. That's what I'll do. I may start, if I see it start to move, I'll start with a foot, and if I see it start to move, then what I'll do is I'll back it down to 6 inches at a time. I do, because it's not equilateral, all the sides aren't equal. I'll take the longest side, and I'll start cutting from there. That's what I figured over.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Guys have also done springs. Of course you get some inductance when you do that, but they'll vary the length by stretching the spring and stuff like that. It's another way to kind of tune your antenna, I guess.
People are nuts, man. They're so creative. You ever see, and I'll let you go, man, but you just reminded me of something. You ever see a slinky antenna? I hear those actually work, man. Load up a couple slinkies.
Yeah, I've seen them. Geez, can you still buy a metal slinky? Last time I saw them, they were all plastic.
I don't know. The one my daughter has is metal, and I think my wife got it from Vermont Country Store. I'm not sure. I think you have to go to a weird place like that.
That's pretty low, Steve, when you go steal your daughter's slinky.
She doesn't use it. She giggles, man. It's the funniest thing. I'll grab the slinky. It sits on her shelf. She never plays with it. And I'm like, come on, let's play with the slinky. We played with it on the stairs, and I play with it on her desk, to the chair, to the floor, and she just, she's fascinated by it. But she's not. It's funny, man. She's just not into stuff like that. Like we were. She's just a totally different kid, but she's a kind of an she's a typical kid in many ways. She's electronic freak. Loves her, excuse me, loves her computer and you know uh, videos and YouTube and kind of technology. She loves that stuff. This mechanical stuff, that thing could disappear. She'd never miss it.
Yeah, I remember playing with that when I was a kid, watching it walk down the stairs. That was pretty cool.
Oh, Target sells them?
We also had, how about silly putty? You remember playing with silly putty?
Oh yeah. I mess with her. I try to stick it in her hair. She gets really upset. One of the guys on the stream just said Target sells them. You can still get them from Target, Jerry, those metal slinkies. I thought about that for portable. How cool would that be? I don't know if they actually work worth a crap or not. I would imagine they do, man. It's pretty funny. You run like a piece of cord through the center of it, and then you just grab the end and you pull out you attach the cord at 2 points from the center and hook it on there, and you got your little alligator clips, and you pull the slinky out, and pretty funny stuff, man. Anyways, you can get them on Amazon too. Yeah, see, the resources available. Anyways, let me let you go. Get on with your day. Happy 4th, man, whatever you're doing. And I don't know what we're doing. I got to go down to my mother's today, and I got to mow the hayfield, do some trimming. I got to set her boxes up. I've got the soaker hoses in line, but I have to build. It's either today or tomorrow. I think the wife is going shopping, and I can't leave when she goes, so I may be stuck here today. I don't know. I'm setting Mom up with separate zones, 'cause she's 88, and she has to drag that hose all over the lawn to water all the stuff. So I got the soaker hoses in place, but there's not enough pressure to make them work all the way to the last hose, you know what I mean? So I have to put together a little system for 2 zones for the boxes. She's got cucumbers and squash in one box, in a long box. Cucumbers are trellised, and then a long box of tomatoes, and then a long box of hot and bell peppers. So I'm going to set that up on 2 separate zones. So all she has to do is walk out and flip a switch, man. She's like, don't worry about it. And then, she says, don't worry about it. And then on the other hand, she says, yeah, I almost fell twice out there. I'm like, oh, jeez, And that's the problem. She said, when I get down on the ground, I can't get up. She's a firecracker, but no, I gotta deal with that. Over.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're going to have her set up there pretty good. Pretty easy to do all that water. And, my wife hates garden hoses. And I've replaced all the garden hoses.
Hey, Zach, what's up, dude?
Expandable hoses. And she loves that thing. And they work really well. I'm pretty
Wow,
impressed.
Peter. Yeah, they do. You have to give it time, though. These soakers, it doesn't put huge volumes of water down. And that's what I tell her. I said, you're going to have to let that run for probably an hour. Probably a good 30 minutes on each zone, and then go out, set your timer. And, and the nice part about it is, if you forget about it, it's not like, the pump only cycles, her pump, when we had them running last year, only cycles, I don't know, dude, once every few minutes, and it just comes up to pressure instantly, repressurizes the tank, and then it sits for a few minutes, and because it's just trickling, it's just soaking. So it's actually pretty kind on your, if you don't have to worry about burning your pump out there. Over.
Yeah, my daughter got she ordered a pool off of Amazon. It's about maybe 6 or 8 feet in diameter. It's got 4 seats in it.
Yeah, I'm doing good, Zach.
Holders,
Hope
so
you're
she
well.
wanted to have it here for the 4th, right? So I set that up yesterday, and I filled it, not a lot of water, maybe just 7 inches of water, just so you can go in there, sit down, and cool your feet off and stuff like that. Well, actually, the water went up over the seat line. But I was watching the pump yesterday when I was filling this, and it looked like there was about a minute to repressurize and about 3 minutes to go back off. Well, I didn't say that right. It ran for about a minute to get me
Glenn.
back up to pressure, and then
See
it
you,
took
bud.
about
Happy 4th
2
of
to
July,
3
man.
minutes
Have
to
fun.
get down to where it switched in again. I don't know. It seems like when I first moved here, it seems like my pump used to pressurize really quick. Now it seems to be taking longer, so I don't think that's a good sign.
Have you checked the, do you have a tank? Have you checked the bladder in the tank? Mine, I had to, mine was a little wonky. Of course, the tank's been in here not that long. Well, yeah, it's 15 years old. You know, I don't know if you've seen the cost of tanks. Pressure tanks, good Lord, ridiculous. And I don't think our pressure tank is nearly big enough. That's the other problem. But yeah, the bladder, if it's, I don't know if you slapped a pressure gauge on the top of that to see where it's sitting at idle. It's not surging though, is it? That's a sign of a poor bladder, I think, right? If it starts surging on you, you know, the pressure gets real weak and then it gets strong as the pump's running. Usually that's, I think that's a bladder issue. Speaking of, you know, you know the bladder I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. No, I got a fairly new tank. I put it in maybe 4 years ago. It might have, I probably should have bought the next size up. I forgot what size I got, but yeah, the cost was like crazy. No, it doesn't surge. I mean, I can tell, you know, if I'm running the bathroom faucet and the pump kicks in, you can see it surge a little bit, but not a terrible amount. I don't know what's normal.
No, I think that's normal. I think it depends too on the size of the tank. You know, ours is just this little tiny thing. So when the pump kicks on, it's noticeable. I mean, it's not horrific. It's not like it goes to a trickle, you know, and then all of a sudden, wham. But I can, especially in the shower, I can tell. You know, that's fairly high volume. We do have what are those called? One of those heads on the shower. You know, it's like a water saver, but I don't have it set there. Nothing worse than a water saver shower head. You know, talk about one of the pet peeves in life. You want a shower that actually works, you know what I mean? Especially if you're a sconge boy like me.
Yeah, I hear you. You hate to have to keep running around, to keep trying to get wet and cover yourself, right? I don't know how long pumps last. I've been here 14 years, and I think the pump is maybe 5 to 10 years old before me, so we're talking 24, maybe 30 years, or 24, 25 years. How long does a pump usually last?
Oh, gosh. You probably got another few years out of that. Is it a submersible, or is it in the house, a push or pull?
Oh, no, it's way down in the well. I don't know how deep it is, but it's down pretty good.
Oh, yeah, 25 years. Let's see, I replaced the pump was still working. I think they last a long time, Jerry, to be honest with you, because that's what I have in the spring. Of course, it's not deep. It's only about 12 feet down. But it's basically a submersible. Same thing you put in a well. You know, so let's see. I think that it might have been the original pump. And I replaced that in the mid-2000s, and the house was built in 1984. It looked like the original pump. So let's say 2005, yeah, when I was talking about my father there, he helped me do it. I had to climb down in there. The pipe was shot. I had to replace the pipe too, replumb it. So I was standing down in there, and he was running a. We had one of those muck sucker. It's called. It's a high volume pump out. Had the hose down in there, keeping it dry, so I didn't drown. I had a ladder down in there and everything. And geez, dude, that's let's see. Yeah, so that's only 15 years old. Yeah, I should have some time on that. But yeah, 84, 94, that's 20 years. 20 years, yeah, you got a good run out of that, dude. If it's 20, 25 years old, yeah, that's a pretty good run, I think. Go ahead.
Yeah, I probably should. These are the kind of things where it fails, then you change it. I probably should change it ahead of time, just bite the bullet, because it's got the right amount of years on it where it's probably going to fail. And I would never do it myself. I know the well is really deep because when we were buying this house, I knew the realtor. She gave me the keys to the house. I can't believe she did this. She gave me the keys. I could come here anytime I wanted to. I didn't even buy it yet. And I noticed the water was really black. Oh, did it stink? Very sulfury. And I says, we're really interested in buying this house. I says, but there's something really wrong.
See you, Peter. Have a great time there, and you be safe on the road. Good to see you.
Online on how to cleanse a well, using bleach and draw it all out to the faucets. So she says, well, go ahead. She says, go ahead and do it. I can't believe it. I didn't even own this place. So I took the cap off the well and followed the procedure. I poured the bleach down, and it took a long time for me to hear that bleach hit water. So I don't know how deep this is, but it's pretty deep. Then I drew it all out into the faucets and let it sit for X number of hours, like they said. Then flushed everything out, and we've never had a problem since.
Wow. Yeah, I can't believe that either, man. Well, you must have a very trustworthy face. Did you know the realtor, or didn't you? Is it somebody you just met when you were looking for houses? Did you know him prior?
I knew her from her husband or her ex-husband. He was an engineer at work, and we worked together. So I knew her that way, but not really well. I mean, been to parties and stuff like that. But yeah, she just. If I was the owner of the house and I found out that somebody was doing that kind of stuff, I probably would have fired her.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I've never heard of anything like that. And my dad was a broker. When he left the manufacturing plant, they closed it down. He got his broker's license in Connecticut. This was back in the early 80s. And right through, we moved here in 87. He was worked for a real estate agency down in just him and a partner of his had his broker's license in Connecticut in the early 80s in 1982. Maybe it was even before that. Jeez, dude, I think it was actually 1980. Yeah, it was before I graduated in 1980. So all the way to, when did he finally retire? Gosh, let's see, 2010. Probably about 2005. Yeah, 2005, 2006, he finally hung his head up. So yeah, he was in that industry that whole time, and I have never heard of anybody doing something like that. And he used to tell me all kinds of stories. So yeah, that was pretty much a gift. You know what I mean? I don't think it would have ended well. So the owner never actually found out about it?
No, they had moved down to Connecticut or somewhere. And I don't know how long they were out of the house. I don't know why the water went bad like that. But it was very, very concerning. Well, this realtor, she also, I contracted her to sell our house that we were moving out of. So I think she just knew we were going to buy the place, and then she figured, what the heck, let them do this, and then it will be a done deal. It was a little bit of a stretch to buy this place without the other house being sold. and I think I even had to take out a bridge loan or something. So she's got a buyer for my old house, and it was pretty close to what I was asking. And she says, I think I can get more. I says, leave it at that. I says, it's better than I wanted to do. I said, just go, accept it, you know. So I got rid of the old place. Nothing worse than carrying two houses, right?
Oh yeah. Dad got into trouble once with that. You know, because they didn't buy multiple places, but they'd renovate a house and put it on the blocks, and they'd have to, you know, because you have to move when a house becomes available. You have to buy it, get a down payment on it, and get the contract going. You know, put it under contract, of course, to secure it. And they find these great deals. You know, they made a lot of money. They make like one of the houses they made about $140,000 on. They did really good doing that. A lot of work though, horrific amount of work. And this was here in Vermont. But yeah, he got stuck one time. All those years, the contract fell through on the house they were in. They were selling, and the other house was under contract, and they made the move thinking that the other house was, you know, the house they were in moving from was going to sell right away again. It didn't, and it sat there, and they were sitting on two properties, two mortgages. I'll tell you, they were and this was early on. You know, this was probably I would say probably in the early 90s, probably 93, 94, somewhere in there. I remember that. They were sweating bullets. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I know what that feeling is like. But we did okay. We bought, I mean, we kind of bought high here, but this was in 2016, but we sold high too. So it kind of worked out.
That's okay, as long as you don't end up underwater. Even if you break even, you know, walk away at least with a little bit of money in your pocket. That's okay. You know, when my mother-in-law passed away in 2010, we sold her, Lisa. She had to sell her house, and remember the subprime crisis hit. What was that? 2008, right? Well, you know, these subprime loans and all this crap was supposed to come to an end. You're going to love this. The house became listed within a week. It was under contract. And these people put $500 down on a $170,000 house. $500 down. When they took possession of the house, they were underwater immediately. I mean, that stuff was still going on, dude. I don't think people really realized how diabolical that I mean, it was just ridiculous. You know, we paid, we bought this house in 94 for $86,000. And I was working in Killington. I had contracts up there, my own business, cleaning business, and I worked in the spring and fall, 6 months out of the year, and I pulled huge money, and I literally saved up like 12, what was it? What did we put down? 10%, that's right. We put 10% down, generated that in 1 month, and, you know, at least we put, you know, like $8,500, $8,600 down on it. But good Lord, dude. $500 down on a $170,000 house. Yeah, whatever.
Well, we bought our first house. We bought, I think it was 1976 or 1977. We paid $34,000 for it. It's a 5-room ranch, a good sized ranch though, and of course we added a 24 by 24 garage with attached breezeway and made a lot of improvements. I had a beautiful basement in that house, all finished, In fact, when the realtor opened us up
I
a
was
door
only
and stepped
13
down,
years
she
old.
says, "Oh my God," she says, "this is like another house here," And I think we sold that. We paid $34, and we sold it for, I think it was $200K, a little bit above or a little bit below. I can't remember the exact number. So, we were okay with that.
See, those were the glory days, man. Seriously. Amazing, wasn't it? Yeah, it's like my parents. I mean, they built that house in 1960, the house I grew up in. Dad got out of the service, and they immediately bought the property and built it up on the mountain above the old homestead in Pleasant Valley. And I think he built it for, I don't know, 28,000, maybe 26,000. It's a beautiful cape, really nice property, sits all by itself, And I don't know why this thing behaves this way. This pure signal, I'm still trying to figure this stupid thing out. The minute I roll up the power, I play with it. So let's say I back it down. So I'm backing it down. Let's go there. It just goes wonky. I get a red light. This freaking radio, dude, I'm telling you. Man, I just lost receive on this thing. What the heck? All right, guys, I'm going to kill the stream. I will see you later if you're still around. 7-3. I have no idea what happened. No clue.